complaining. Seems like independent women do the most complaining.
When men do what they're supposed to do.
Why every man gotta be a yes dear ass?
Hey, come on, you guys.
You are ignorant. I'm protesting.
Are your dreams, son?
Same dream.
You deserve what you get.
What?
Alright, the feud between 50 Cent and Young Buck isn't getting any better. As a matter of fact, Young Buck talked today on It's Tricky with Rachel Harper podcast about his tumultuous relationship with 50 Cent. And Young Buck pretty much is saying that he wants this whole thing to be over. 50 Cent will not take his proverbial foot off of Young Buck's neck legally. Now I'm going to play a small clip, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the full podcast at the top of the description. It's a 30-minute interview. I want you guys to go check that out as soon as you get finished listening to my commentary on this. Young Buck, he talks about other things, but I just want to play a small clip and then give you guys the backstory on what's really going on between Young Buck and 50. This is exclusive content. It's your boy, Oh God, man. Like I said, make sure you guys go to the top line of the description box and check out the full interview on the podcast with Miss Harper. Roll tape.
Just felt like, it's a way for us to handle it without the back and forth. My whole thing was to complete whatever was involved with my contract so I could move forward with my career. And in the beginning, it stemmed from the fact of, him saying that I owed him this amount of money. And it's like, okay, I'll pay you that if you can produce me a receipt, because I don't recall you ever handing me, $250,000, $350,000. And that type of money comes with a trail behind it anyway. It ain't like you gave it to me in cash. So, show me these things. And none of those things has never been produced up until this day right now. And even me trying to complete my project, I had one album left in regards to him. I even reached out. It was like, look, man, I'll give you an album just to be able to go my own way. And then he turned that down. At first, that's what he was looking for. Then once I went forward with it, it turned into, oh, you owe me $350,000. Give me this and all of those things like that. So, we possibly could iron our situation out by having a real conversation with each other. You know what I'm saying? And just getting a clear understanding on where I stand at and where he stand at. And it could be done. But, everybody don't feel the same way.
Let's break this whole situation down. Now, if you guys remember, if you know G Unit, you had Buck, Game, Yayo, Banks, 50, obviously, Kid. Well, at one point, Buck was like one of the top dudes, Him and 50 was good. They fell out at some point. But one thing Young Buck forgot was that you're contractually obligated. Now, Buck is saying that he owes 50 Cent another album, and that probably correlates to the $250,000 that 50 Cent is initially going after him for. 50 Cent, is claiming that at some point, he pretty much, paid him $250,000. Now, Young Buck is pretty much saying that he never got that money. But what Young Buck is failing to realize, right, is that it didn't necessarily mean that 50 Cent gave you that money cash or gave you a check of $250,000. It could have been something that had to be recouped on the back end. Now, judging what 50 Cent said, back when he was talking about his bankruptcy dispute, he pretty much, said that he paid his taxes for him, and his fees. Here's a quote. He said, I gave this fool the money, man, and he spent it. I paid his taxes and his legal fees. Then he got caught with a tranny, right? This is what 50 Cent said, on a past article. And that's what I mean when I say that. Like, at the end of the day, it's like, all right, I'm sure 50 Cent is going to be able to prove that somewhere that $250,000 was allocated to young Buck's budget somehow. Now, Buck is saying, they haven't proved it yet, because y'all probably didn't get to the discovery portion of the case against you. Once he ain't gonna just show you now, he's gonna wait until you get your lawyer, and your lawyer asks, okay, what do you have claiming that he owes the money? They're gonna show, okay, this is what we spent here. This is what the contract says. What you gonna do then, right? Now, I'm not saying I know what the contract says, but judging from experience, it looks like 50 Cent is on top of he ain't taking nobody to court unless he gonna win. I'm just gonna put it like that with 50 Cent, right? He's going after Tierra Marie relentlessly. Now he hired a private investigator to track her down. I think it's like 50 G's or something like that. So he's going to get his money somehow, some way. And on the other hand, Young Buck is like, man, well, I'll do my last album. 50 like, hell no. Why would I want to do business with you now? Nigga, give me my money. Give me my money. And you guys can remember, we reported here on Hip Hop News Uncensored as well. Remember when Young Buck, he was going through his bankruptcy, and the reason he's going through his bankruptcy is a large part because of 50 Cent, suing him. And he was pretty much trying to, hide money or stop money from going through the tentacles of 50 Cent, right? Because 50 Cent was like, all right, I need a piece of that, whatever you getting, right? And as a part of the bankruptcy, you're supposed to break it down to your creditors and split payments. Let's say if you owed $100,000 and you owe, 5 different people, whatever. So out of that, they would have to break it down and give 50 his portion. Give the electric this portion. Whoever got a judgment against you here, whatever. You got a car repossessed here. The home you got repossessed here. That's how the whole thing will go under the type of bankruptcy that Young Buck is under. And I just don't see 50 Cent. Once you betray 50, he ain't going to make it easy for you, right? He ain't going to never be cool with Game probably, even though they got their little going back and forth, right? He's probably never going to be cool with Young Buck. They may stop going at each other's throat, but I doubt if they're ever cool like they were back in the day, you know what I'm saying? And, the going back and forth is one thing, but to come after someone actually legally, that's a whole nother thing. Now, 50 Cent wants to get his money back that his company put out, whatever it had to be for Young Buck. We will see when that time comes. If 50 Cent's able to prove it, then Young Buck will definitely have to cost up the money. But again, he had to file bankruptcy because of 50 Cent. And this is a lesson for everybody, including myself, man. It's not really about what you're making. It's about what you're able to hold on to. And I've been there, things are going very, very good for you. You're making a lot of money, and you tend to think you're going to continue to make that type of money, as opposed to saying, all right, I got an influx now. Let me put this aside for a rainy day, just in case I get to the point where I wasn't making that type of money anymore. I'm able to kind of survive until I'm able to get back to that point. I'm a victim myself. We were never taught this type of stuff, so I'm not preaching to the crowd. I'm talking to myself at the end of the day. And a lot of these rappers don't have the wherewithal, and athletes, the wherewithal to actually save and put stuff to the side and don't splurge as much. If you got $100 million, you can splurge what you want. But if you got a few $100,000, that could disappear at some point in time. So that's just my take, man. Like I said, go to the top line of the description box to listen to the full podcast. The audio was provided by the Raquel Harper. Her podcast over there, The Tricky. Go check that out. Young Buck did a full interview, full 33-minute interview. So if you're Young Buck fans, please go in the description box, go check that podcast out, and tell them Hip Hop News Uncensored sent you. It's your brother Oga, man. Hip Hop News Uncensored over and out. Peace.